Hey, welcome back to the Break Room Podcast. Of course, we've got Chris and Vin, myself,
Yep.
Rob Franzese. Unfortunately,
one.
we're missing Joe. Joe's could not make it, but
Say don't make me. Vin, you say it this week. You say it this week.
Son of a bitch.
Not even that.
you
What am I
son
supposed
Who
of a
sucks?
bitch.
Who sucks when
Oh,
Joe's
you
not
want me to
here?
Bret Hart?
I like Bret Hart though.
We all like Bret
like
Hart. But
Bret
you still got to
Hart,
say
but
it so
he's,
that it's like saying
It's just saying fuck you, Joe.
no, it's like saying what the hell is
Shawn
it? Bloody
Michaels
Mary
is
in
better
the
than
mirror.
Bret Hart.
Shawn
Say-
Michaels.
Say it three
is
times.
better.
And
Say
Joe
it three
Clemente
times
will
and Joe will
fucking
apparate
hear.
and fucking start bleeding out of his ass.
Oh man.
He'll put you in a figure 4 leg lock.
Bret Hart sucks.
Sharpshooter.
Bret Hart doesn't suck. We love
No,
him.
he doesn't.
but
Put
we
you in the
gotta- we gotta
sharpshooter
say it
and
no
he'll
matter
fucking-
what.
Stand up guy. Stand up guy.
He's
I like him a lot.
He's a good guy.
But yeah, we miss Joe.
I did not get to show off on my last episode because we did the Sopranos episode, but I did want to gloat and show off my signed Mjolnir and Thor helm.
Awesome.
I got them signed by Walt Simonson, who was a very famous Thor writer and artist. He created Throg, Frog of Thunder, and Beta Ray Bill.
Wow. Wow.
So I got my, I think it's Thor 336 or whatever, the one where Beta Ray Bill's slamming the hammer down and he breaks the Thor logo. I actually got that signed, and they actually had the grading people there.
Oh,
so I
shit.
gave them my comic, and they witnessed the signature, so they're going to clean it and press it and grade it. And it was already in pretty great condition. Like, there was no creasing or any folds or in the corners or anything.
Wow.
So I'm going to have a really nice graded autographed Thor comic, and I'm really excited about that. So
That's beautiful, and that's probably the best way I've ever heard. Like getting
it's
it done.
fantastic because they're there. They
Yeah.
saw him sign it, so there's no
'Cause otherwise-
debating what the autograph is.
Yeah, you're sending it away. You're having to, prove authenticity and all that shit.
Exactly.
That takes a while.
Getting it done
That's
just
a lot
right
of
there
money.
on the
Right
spot.
there on the spot. It was the greatest
That's a
thing.
Fucking win. Good shit, man. I didn't.
100%. I was like, I am jumping on this opportunity because I always
Nailed
thought
it.
about getting it graded after I got it autographed because I forgot that comic. Actually, no, I didn't forget it. I'm lying. There was a small Long Island convention that I actually was not a guest at. I just showed up to support my buddy Joe, who co-owns the Rip and Ship gaming store. And
Ship?
they actually had me crack an original pack of Pokemon cards, like one of the OG sets. It was a lot of fun. I did it at the con. I didn't get anything good, but still fun.
Can I actually say something about that?
Sure.
So there's like an app. I think it's called Whatnot.
Yes.
heard of this?
So those are
Yes.
those are online auctions, like video auctions, where you can sell shit. So I honestly could probably make a killing on that. if
But
I tried to sell
isn't
them
what
and
you're
sell them.
selling like? I think they just have somebody open packs for people.
Well, there are certain like Pokemon packs where like you'll throw whatever money and then they'll crack the pack and then you get whatever's in there, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent.
and people just watch this.
The
Apparently.
economy behind
Joe
it
is
staggering.
fucking addicted to it and like constantly, throws money to whatever. And
You're getting that
sometimes he
vicarious
makes
high.
that-
Like if they get a good card.
I
you're
think he
probably
got like a $220 card for like $20 or something like that the other day, and I was like, oh well.
See, I just get angry when other. I'm
you're jealous.
I'm a horrible. Yeah, I'm
course.
jealous,
Jealous
and
is
I'm just
fucking
horrible
sin.
and toxic. If somebody else gets a good Pokemon card, I get angry.
That's why he gets mad. That's why he buys them from me.
Yeah, well, that's you. Honestly, you'd be making people millionaires on Whatnot, dude. You fucking. Rob is. I get enjoyment out of my friends getting stuff, but if I see a stranger get a pull a
Son
fucking
of a
rare
bitch.
card, I'm just like, fuck
First
that
edition
guy.
Charizard. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Good
Yeah.
for
Actually,
you.
no. See, I caught the keeper on the fishing trip.
Sure, he did.
Chris was
Last-
not happy about that.
I was happy about that.
Didn't
I
even
caught-
take a picture. No
he
one
was,
took a
he
picture.
was
of me.
happy about it.
We
yeah.
could have.
I was too drunk.
I
didn't
did
think-
catch the first fish on the boat,
Oh, that was. Yeah,
but it was
you
a
did, you
fucking
did.
baby.
See, he was not
But going
bad.
back to my story, at
keepers.
that little Long Island con, it was just like I passed it up. Saw the fucking comic there in like immaculate condition, and the guy sold it to me, and I kind of like had it
How much was it?
on my wall. I think I paid like $225, but
Oh,
he
okay.
was,
It was-
charging like $275. So
Nice.
the guy cut
Gave it
me a
break.
deal because it was only 1 day show
And you're the
whatever,
guy, dude.
so.
You're the man.
They so I ended up getting the comic, and I just put it on my wall, and I
Yeah.
just kept it there for a while just to enjoy it. That's really what I bought it for.
Right.
And I really don't have like many like I don't not
You're not a big
only just
comic
Thor
guy.
comics, but like My brother had comics and stuff like that. He had like the G.I. Joe and the Star Wars comics and stuff. But like,
Right.
as far as like superhero comics, my dad didn't have any of that kind of stuff back in the day. Like
Gotcha.
maybe like
It wasn't like the action.
if he
figures
did,
and
his,
shit.
his mother threw them away. It wasn't like he would have had like 1950s Batman comics, but that was like when he was a joke
Yeah.
and like had Robin and all that shit. So
I went into graphic like novel, comic books, but I never really went hardcore into accumulating any kind of comic collection.
But that's what prompted me to get that book, and I knew that Walt Simonson was going to be going back to Garden State Comic Fest because he does it every year because he's good friends with Dave O'Hare who runs the show, and it's pretty close
got
for
the
him.
knowledge,
I think it's like a 30-minute drive from where the guy lives, so it's like an easy con for him to go. So yeah, it was always a good time. Got the comic signed, got it sent out and graded. As a souvenir for me to have something to go home with, I got the hammer and the helmet signed. So I'm gonna, probably abstain from bringing these to conventions ever again because now they're signed. So,
which is kind of a shame in its own right that you can't like with this mic. I'm like now more careful because it's signed. Like you
it's
can't
true,
take it
but
out and enjoy
that's the problem with getting things signed that you regularly use.
Yeah.
But I also didn't want anybody signing my actual metal Thor hammer and my metal dome helmet because that's just, I don't.
Oh, I didn't even
realize.
realize that you had multiple.
The
I
only
thought it was
reason
the
I would
same helmet.
argue, the only reason I would argue that you should have is because that one is not getting worn.
But it's like also in perfect condition, and it's
I
like,
get it.
do you want him to sign on the metal? Is it going to smear?
Yeah, no.
Now I got to protect this fucking thing. It's also heavy as shit.
You
The
gotta carry
wings
that
are made of
around.
fiberglass.
Yeah,
It's
you gotta-
fucking like the
Carrying
thing
that around
is
the con.
serious.
It is.
I
You put
and
it
I
on
don't-
a couple
so
times.
here's a fun story about that helmet and the metal hammer that I have. Many moons ago, when I was still working at that credit union job, we went to a one of my coworkers had a Halloween party with to dress up and stuff, and I ended up dressing like Thor and wearing the costume T-shirt that I wore at the convention and the hammer and helmet, the heavy ones, because I didn't have these yet, and this is way before Hemsworth was even Thor. Like the MCU was like, or maybe this was like right around that time, but there wasn't like when you bought a Thor hammer, it was still the comic Thor hammer, not the movie Thor hammer.
yeah,
So
right.
I remember bringing a bottle of mead with me to the party, proceeding to drink the entire bottle myself, and then I threw the hammer across the yard. It was the greatest thing. Great night. I won first place in the costume contest.
Just want to mention we have Hells and From the Dungeon in the house. in the
Hey,
comments.
welcome to the show, fellas.
Saying welcome back.
Welcome
back.
welcome.
And then From the Dungeon said, no Joe. You
No
missed that
Joe.
at the
No
opening.
Joe.
Yeah.
We opened with
Joeing is half
Son
the
of a
battle.
bitch.
Joe's got an early morning tomorrow.
Yeah, so he
Right.
wasn't able to make it for the
Yeah.
episode. He sorely missed.
So it's From the Dungeon. That means we all have to comment now that Bret Hart sucks. We don't mean it. We have to say it to
offend
be able
Shawn
to.
Michaels is a superior wrestler.
Yeah.
That's all you have to say.
far
That-
superior.
You don't even have to say anything about Bret Hart. You just have to say something nice about Shawn Michaels.
That's true.
Shawn
yeah.
And that
Michaels
will
will
get
be-
under his
that's
skin
true,
just
yeah.
as much.
It's like
Shawn
Shawn Michaels
Michaels
will be remembered longer
Because
than
if you
Bret
say
Hart.
something
Michael
bad
Jordan.
about Bret Hart, it's
The
disingenuous.
Michael Jordan.
The very quote that started it was that I said Shawn Michaels was like the Michael Jordan of wrestling, and Joe flipped his shit. We can find it in the video,
Oh my
back in
God.
archive, and it's great
Oh.
because literally Stone Cold Steve Austin on the latest documentary that they had, he said Shawn Michaels, goddamn, he's like the Michael Jordan of WWF. So he said it
Wow.
himself, Stone Cold Steve.
I don't
Austin.
believe that at all, but
It's totally
Was
is
William
that?
Regal on his
I
top
don't
10?
believe that. I don't believe that. And,
probably not.
guys, what do you got to? What does the audience have to say about that? Is
weren't watching
is
then,
Shawn
so.
Michaels the fucking Michael Jordan of the WWF?
If you actually watched it, yes.
I feel it. Well, all right.
At the time,
Pre Rock, pre Stone Cold, all that, because I feel like those guys.
So what are you going to say? Like Hulk
Shawn-
Hogan's the Larry Bird?
It was no, it wasn't pre Stone Cold. He had a great program with Stone Cold. That's what really made me start loving wrestling was Shawn
Okay.
Michaels versus Stone Cold. And then he went away for a while, and that's when The Rock popped up. And then he
Okay.
came back
What?
years later.
What?
But regardless,
We're not gonna go
Joe's
into-
ears and ass are bleeding somewhere. Hearing us talk
gotta
about
be
So
this.
speaking of conventions, besides this, I did get to go to Eternal Con on Long Island, and I forgot to send you the fucking clips. I have news clips that I went to.
Oh,
I might
that's
even
right.
be able
Shit.
I might even be able to airdrop them to you while I'm doing this.
I won't be able
But
to. At this point.
whatchamacallit?
Yes, you can.
I can't create a scene while the show is going.
It's called
Nah,
studio
it's
mode.
fine.
Well, we can't fucking figure that out now.
It's
Yes, you can. You
fine.
click studio. It'll just give you the other side window.
But that was a lot of fun. We did whatchamacallit. I did meet the Big Show briefly, but I didn't get to really interact with him.
The Big Show?
The Big Show.
Capital.
The Big
You
Show.
mean Paul White now.
Well, yeah, exactly.
He's no longer the Big Show, unfortunately.
Well, I'm still gonna call him the Big Show. I call him the Big Show to his face. I didn't give a shit. It's the
He'll always
fucking
be the
Big Show.
Show.
It's the Big Show. There you go. There it is.
So they put you on the news because you're at
Put
the
me on the
cons.
news. I was on News 12 Long Island. I was on Pix 11, and yeah, it was a good time. Shook his hand, big dude. I picked up a couple of wrestlers. Just got a Hasbro Bret Hart and a Hasbro Ric Flair.
Oh, that's right.
Because the Bret
Those are
Hart's
clean.
it's very, very clean. And then I picked up a Macho Man for Joe, but we'll show that off when he's on the show. And so that was a good time. And then after that, the shirt that I'm sporting here is a little shout out to my Italian American heritage. My family has been going to this Italian feast in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, called the Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, for like the last 100+ years.
Is that the one that has the big, like 400-pound like statue that they carry?
400-pound. It's 4 tons.
Oh, it's 4 tons. Okay,
It
there
is
we go.
8,000 pounds, and they have 110 stocky Italian guys dancing and shit down the street every Wednesday and Sunday for 2 weeks in July. Every fucking year for the last several hundred.
God,
couple hundred
couldn't have been
years, whatever,
September. It
almost.
had to be July.
They really, and I feel it's a sin for the taller guys too, because
The hunching down.
you
They
know,
gotta like get
it's
it.
like
for
I'm gonna
the-
break my fucking shoulder because this guy is 4 feet tall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's funny. That definitely made the news. I was seeing the they were.
I
highlighting
love that
whole shit.
feast, and I will swear till the day I die that the Zeppelins, the calzones, and the sausage and pepper sandwiches cannot be topped. They absolutely cannot be topped. What am I twice on here now? What the hell's going on?
No,
It's
no.
the computer can't handle it.
Oh,
telling you.
okay.
Oh, all right. This is sin.
It's a
Whatever.
sin.
It's a sin.
It's
Yeah,
du-
whatever. You
I
tried.
I
You
went
did
there
your
with my
best.
father, my
So
So
brother.
we're pushing it to the limit.
We brought
here.
my father's friend Mario. The 4 of us hit Brooklyn, and so I actually didn't tell you guys this, and you're gonna get a fucking kick out of this. But remember the Italian guy with the schnoz that says 3-4 Malones or whatever.
Right, right.
So I bumped into him. I actually saw him at
Get the fuck
at
outta here. You
feast.
saw him?
Yeah,
I
we
can't-
bumped fist. He said he seen my videos, thinks I'm funny. Whatever.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, he was with the growing up Italian guys, but I didn't really get to talk to them because they were all the way down at the end of the feast. I wasn't going to go chase after them.
Oh, Madone.
But yeah, so I bumped
that's
into
cool.
that. I bumped into that fella, and it's funny because the growing up Italian people are actually relatives of my grandmother's neighbor across the street. This old Italian lady named Therese is like their relative, and which is crazy. So it's like, Gumbarillos, the
That's
old
a
neighborhood.
whole-
What kind of
It's very
food they have
small.
there? Zeppelis.
Oh yeah, they got the Zeps, they got the sausage and pepper sandwiches, they got everything under the sun. They even got the Americana shit like the fucking funnel cakes and all that shit. But they even have this big stand. They got rice balls that look really good. I didn't get those because I have my ritual. I get there, I got to get a sausage and pepper sandwich.
Yes.
Then I got to get a
Hot- wait.
calzone.
Spicy
and
or
then
sweet? Spicy or sweet?
I get the sweet because of my acid reflux. I do
Oh,
like
right,
spicy,
right.
but I can't do spicy. And they really specialize in the sweet shit. I mean, you can get the spicy, but it's really like a very, very delicious sandwich.
Hell
and then you get the calzones are top notch. You get them from D Best. Fuck the other. Lucy, you got to get the sausage and pepper sandwich for Lucy's because Lucy's who has it. But fuck the Lucy's truck for calzones. They didn't even have any calzones. Like, what the fuck kind of truck
What?
doesn't have any calzones left? I was like, it's a Wednesday. Get the fuck out of here. There's two-
left. Just like they ran out.
Yeah, but it was the beginning of the day. We just got there for the day. How the fuck do you start the day not having this shit? So we ended up going down to D Best. That's always where I get the Zeps too.
Nice.
And we had I enjoyed
starving
those.
right now. You're just
Yeah, it was
laying
good
it
stuff. And then of course we got to find the cigar guy because there's always one cigar guy at least. Bought a couple of the Connecticut wrappers, my father and I, and Mario indulged as well. You smoke around, you walk around. You see everybody that you see once a year, and who's related to this one and that one. I gotta bring my brother with me.
Hey,
for
this
shit,
this
though,
guy right
because-
here, he's your cousin's
Exactly.
uncle's
You know how many people
brother's-
came up to me and
Yeah,
said, "Oh,
you
cousin."
know
I'm
Uncle
like, "Oh,
Louie,
okay."
you know fucking great Uncle Louie, who on your mother's side's fucking sisters, brothers.
You
Fucking,
better believe it because
I got a
back
great fucking story too because the two of the guys that lifted Gilia is a father and a son, both named Robert Franzese.
wow.
He came up to me. He's like, I had to come up to you. He's like, I watch your videos all the time. He said, we have the same name. I was like, get the fuck out of here. It's like, this is the first time in my life I ever met somebody with the same exact
That's
name
funny.
as me.
It's incredible
I
how
met two of
many
That's
of the
pretty funny. I actually heard somebody say your name the other day at work.
Oh. Yeah,
Real estate
everybody
guy.
will ask me like, "Oh, are you related to John Vitale from Oyster Bay?" And I'm like, honestly, I don't think so. Not that I know of. There's a lot of us out there.
There's a lot.
I don't,
A lot more
even my
sweets than you would think.
chiropractor's got the same fucking last name.
yeah, I mean, listen,
CJ's
they all
wife is
came.
a
I was just
Vitale.
gonna say what I was gonna say was it's amazing how many of the families came over, either together, knew each other from back home, moved into the same neighborhoods, lived. And when they say the neighborhood, everybody knew everybody. It was not like, oh, you closed your door and never came. No, there was no air conditioning. You were outside. Everybody was outside, yelling out the windows. It was just like a clan, a whole neighborhood of people that knew each other. So they're not kidding when they're like, oh, we're cousins or we're this or we're that. Everybody was somehow closely related.
Depending
or
on
knew each other.
how old the brownstone is, a lot of those Brooklyn brownstones when they were first
should have
built,
fucking hang on to
there
every
was a
single one of
fucking
them.
skeleton
Shoulda
key
never
that could
sold
open
anyone.
every house in that fucking block because that's just how
good-
it was.
Good luck walking into one of those houses uninvited, or
Oh yeah, but I'm
You'd
just
hear
saying,
about it.
like back in the talking like not like early 1900s, late 1800s. Like if
Right.
you're going back, they talk about skeleton keys. Those keys could open up every fucking door on that block. It was insane, like the trust and like the different culture that it was back then.
Well, you just
it's
if
like
somebody
you
came
just-
into my house uninvited,
Oh,
you
you
just
just,
go down the
bang,
block,
bang,
talk to
you know?
whoever, and they would be like,
You disappear, and that's it.
not even that far. You just got to talk. Usually
Won't
it
see him
usually
no more.
starts with a conversation and a beating.
Unless it's my father. My father's like that meme with Danny
Just gonna-
DeVito. So anyway, I started blasting.
Yeah, just started blasting. Yeah, that's your dad's MO for sure. Oh, just shoot him.
That's how his character plays in Dungeons and Dragons. He plays.
Oh, shoot first.
he's got
I'll
he's
fucking
got he's
kill
got
him.
fucking
Just fucking shoot.
Yeah,
Kill.
he's like,
What?
I'm gonna shoot the
It moves, kill.
cocksucker. That's what he said. I'm gonna shoot the cocksucker.
Yeah. All right, roll D12 or fucking.
Yeah, no, you gotta roll a d20, see if you hit him, and then you gotta roll your
fuck.
damage dice. It's
And while we're talking about all this, you know what I read somewhat recently is that apparently the New York accent is as we know it from movies, Hollywood, whatever, mafia movies, I guess. The New York accent is dying. It is actually disappearing
Makes
because
sense.
it
yeah, it
makes
sounds
sense.
like it.
The
Just
metropolitan.
especially for me.
Well, it's changing because it was based off of
Italian.
exactly, and
So-
that's not the people that are migrating
Italian
over right
and
now.
Irish, all
Italian,
kinda
Irish,
blasted
Well, that's
know,
what I
together.
find
English, all
very
that.
interesting is I actually listened to, I don't know if it was a podcast or if it was some kind of report that somebody did, like a study, where if you listen to the different accents in America, you can really see where their roots were
Yeah,
from.
the
Like if
German
you listen to,
or
if you listen to
Dutch.
the Southern accent is a bastardization of the Irish accent or the English accent. If you kind of like slang out an English accent, it becomes a Southern.
It is known.
And then you go to Louisiana, that's the French
French.
undertones. You go to Boston, that's
Creole.
the more the
Right.
Oh, the Irish.
and then
Yeah.
New York,
wicked
it's,
hot up there.
from Italian because it's sing songy.
Not a fucking
Yeah, like that Louisiana fucking. I don't know what you even call that accent.
Creole,
Hot
is that.
Creole type of yeah.
Boy,
Who that?
boy.
Who that boy?
Oh boy.
Shoot,
All right.
shoot, boy. Tell you.
Yeah. That's it,
My
but it's
my
French.
mom used to watch the fucking Swamp People all the time. She used to love this guy Troy Landry. The guy's always shoot. There's a keeper. There's a tree shaker there.
Oh, dude, on Instagram, Stale Cracker, he's the best, dude. This guy will like just. I don't even eat any of the shit that this guy.
Is that the guy that cooks? and
He's like, we're gonna burrow. They say burrow.
Oh,
yeah. He's like,
guy.
we're gonna burrow the crawfish. You're gonna bring them up. Like this guy will just boil like fucking like sacks of
Crawfish.
Gonna make
crayfish.
some jambalaya there.
Yeah, and like he made the first video I ever watched.
Gotta
he
get your
made
seasoning in there.
Cajun
Boy.
fucking
pork cracklins. And I
Oh,
watched this guy
chicharrones.
but it was amazing to watch. Yeah, he calls them chicharrones.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, I'm just captivated. Stale Cracker, look him up. He's captivating.
Yeah,
he's
he's
just
great.
some
He's
redneck
great.
cooking shit.
Shout out to
don't
Troy
know if he
Landry,
likes
the
that
king of the
term.
swamps.
King of
but,
the swamps.
Well, what else?
Well, that's cool. Well,
Anything else from the
was
feast?
good, but
The feast was no. I mean, it was a really good time. Maybe we'll see what happens. If you guys are available, maybe Friday or even Saturday night. I mean, Saturday night or
right now.
Sunday night, maybe.
show's over. We're going to
Maybe
the
we'll,
feast.
We'll go down to the feast
Cut
and
the-
let's we'll go dance to Jill
Yeah,
ourselves.
we'll go tomorrow. Oh yeah, they're carrying the fucking 4,000-pound beast right now.
Only on Sunday.
Or 4
Sunday
tons.
and
Sorry,
Wednesday.
it's 8,000 pounds.
Yeah,
That's not. It can't be 4 tons.
It's 4 tons, and that's less than it used to be, because it used to be
What's
made
it
out
made
of
out of?
wood, and now it's made out of paper mache.
Yeah, what the fuck?
How big is this
Whoa.
thing?
You have to. So the way the G works is that it's
Where's
steel
the
beams on
crown?
the
He didn't-
bottom.
Did Paulie not
There's
pay
a
for the
whole fucking stage. Then there's a fucking statue that's tall. It used to be, because now they're changing the whole fucking neighborhood and they're knocking down all
Wait,
the
it's not the
houses.
same statue.
It was taller than the fucking buildings before they started putting high rises into the neighborhood. So it's huge, very, very tall. And then you got a whole fucking band of people and a Gababarans who's directing the whole thing on the fucking float with the statue. And they're dancing this thing with the band and the people on there. And they're playing they're playing
Teddy.
everything, fucking Rocky, The Godfather, Star Wars music, you name it. They're playing it with the trumpets and the trombones and all that shit.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, it's a fucking experience. And then they got to get the cops involved because they got to rope the people off so that they can dance it down the street. Because everybody and their mother goes to the feast, and then they want to get their food and shit. So good luck if you're trying to buy something while they're trying to dance the statue. That's why, I enjoy watching them dance it, but I'm maybe relaxing over by the church because it's air conditioned and there's chairs over there.
It's the middle of fucking July.
That's it. But it's that's when they say Brooklyn reaches heaven, because
It's a good time.
that's the point. Is the statue is supposed to be tall enough to reach heaven.
Oh, okay. A lot of culture.
A lot of culture, a lot of history.
Got to stay
a lot
true
of
to
fun.
it. Got to stay true to it.
Yeah, you
Gotta
got to
keep
pin
them alive.
the dollar to the saint, get the
Yep.
scapula, the whole nine.
That's
It's a whole experience. And shout out to the Brooklyn growing up Italian people, because they're neighborhood people too. And it's just ironic that they're connected in some way.
Cooj. Shout out to Cooj.
Ironic.
Oh, and then Star Wars news. So we wanted to kind of pivot there.
We got a lot there.
Before we
wrong
get
scene.
into the meat of the subject, I wanted to say that I have my progress is I am halfway through the second book, Thrawn Alliances now.
Timothy
that's
Zahn, right?
It's very
You
interesting
get through these books
because
so quick.
it hops between.
Oh, Alliance is the second one, right?
Yeah,
right.
no, not.
That's the one I told
not
you about. It's the
Ascendancy,
dual
Alliances.
timeline.
Yeah, it's a dual timeline. So you're getting Thrawn and Anakin and Thrawn and Vader,
Right.
and present and past kind of thing. So it's
Okay.
very interesting. I wasn't sold on it initially because I kind of missed Eli Vant. 'Cause I was
Vanto.
Vanto.
He'll be back.
I was kind of used to having him around because he's
Southern voice.
Yeah, Eli Vanto. I was supposed to work in the.
How do you figure? yeah.
I haven't listened to those yet. I haven't.
I'll
started
clench
those.
my teeth,
I did
but-
started Heir to the Empire, so I'm back. You know, it's honestly it's more Luke and Leia.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
it's
Oh,
very
yes.
just heavy
Yeah.
in that.
Well, the difference really
Post-Jedi.
is that these new Thrawn books are from the perspective of the Empire, because
Right.
this is Thrawn and the Empire, the good guys, almost like, and like it's from that perspective,
Right.
as opposed to Heir to the Empire, which is more like continuation of the original Star Wars, where it's the
Yes.
rebels, and
Yes.
these are our adversaries, and we don't know really what their motivations are and stuff like that, or
Now
or
the Alliance or the Republic is back, and they're trying to figure out how to govern. And
exactly.
splintered off. Empire still exists. It's all
Those are my favorite
all
Star
the-
Wars books.
those. I mean, it's an incredible part of the timeline to explore that has stayed relative. I don't want to say unexplored, but we haven't seen it visually. It hasn't been represented in any kind of
The closest in timeline wise, I guess you would say, is probably The Mandalorian, because The Mandalorian's 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
right.
Those
Now
books are
we're
10
doing
years
it.
after
Now
Return
we're
of the
doing
Jedi.
it. Now
Yeah.
we're getting that. But I never thought to listen to it before. I don't. Chris, I think, started to explore these like a couple years ago and was like, "Oh, you got to check these out." And I had watched Rebels, which was probably where I was like, "All right, I will," but I just never like followed through. Now, I think what'd you get me? You got me Thrawn Alliances. He got me the most expensive one on Audible, so I have that
Gotcha.
on deck. But I just figured Heir to the Empire was like the intro to Thrawn. It was just kind of, hey, this is
100%.
the first time you've seen or heard of him,
Yeah.
and
I read those back in high school, and what's really interesting is the Plagueis book that I listened to, which was the first audio book that I scooped from Audible.
That was like
and
the last
started,
one I listened to.
Was they actually referenced Jorah Sebayoth, who is the crazy Jedi.
Yes.
That's in the
Sabayoth.
book
was he a
that you're
clone
listening to.
in Plagueis? Talking that he was a clone.
No, he was actually a Jedi.
Well, no,
and
no,
part of-
no.
part of the Order.
Sabayoth in the Heir to the Empire books isn't actually. They don't. I think they say like Sabayoth isn't actually him. He is a clone of him.
Yes,
And he's like his mind is like kind of mushed up.
It's
a little bit.
it's referenced really early. Somebody says it when they're meeting with him.
It's like
and I was
theorized
like-
it's a clone of him.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, that was a cool. That was
But
a
the
cool
one that they
spot.
mention in Plagueis is the original Jedi. That,
Right.
and he was a wild character of his own.
Damascus.
Damascus.
Damask.
That's a
Sabayoth
great
was
book.
like the emperor character in Heir to the Empire and all those
Yes.
books, without actually being the emperor. So he was like the madness and the power hungriness and like that the power, but he wasn't actually the emperor. Thrawn was still in control, kind of like, yeah, that's fine. We need this guy, but
And that's why it killed me so much when they fucked up the Disney movies, because like Heir to the Empire was such a fantastic story, and for them to opt to not go with any of that and then write their own story and then have the audacity to be worse.
I mean, the
You know,
narrative
it's
right now
like-
is that Disney is fucking up. But
Yeah, but
hey, they're keeping Bob Iger. So that's a good
we'll
move.
get there. We'll
Yeah,
get there.
so
But no,
actually, I do want to address, because From the Dungeon asked how we feel about the Hollywood thing. We are going to talk about that a little bit later, for sure.
yeah,
we're
it's
definitely going to
coming
touch
up.
on that.
But
It's
Star
probably
Wars,
gonna wrap
Ahsoka.
Thrawn,
The reason we're talking about all of
yeah,
this
Thrawn
is,
leads to our, what are we about to watch? Which I think it might
Well-
be possibly, or you want to continue with Thrawn?
well, no, the big reveal, why we're really even talking about it, I think the biggest thing with the Ahsoka trailer is that they show Thrawn's face. Now we
Yes,
know it's
yes.
Thrawn. And we know it's fucking not, it's Mads
They
Mikkelsen or
say-
the other.
Yeah,
No,
it's,
not
it's
Mads
his
Mikkelsen.
brother.
Yeah, what's
Lars
his-
Mikkelsen?
Lars,
Lars.
yeah.
The
Which
older
I
Lars
do want to
Mikkelsen.
give credit to friend of the show, Adam K, because he did from the start say that he thought that he would end up being Thrawn, and I was like, no, goddamn it, he's not. What I have to remind myself is that this is an older Thrawn that we're gonna get in Ahsoka,
Yeah.
whereas the books that we're listening to right now, it's still young Thrawn. But Thrawn, like when you see what Thrawn looks like, he's like a handsome, like
Thrawn is represented in Rebels first,
You know,
right?
that's Thrawn. He looks like shit.
Like
You
what
can't
I
see that,
felt
yeah.
that who would have made a good Thrawn when he was younger was the guy that played Lucius Malfoy.
Malfoy would have done it. You can't see shit. Malfoy, I thought Pierce Brosnan, if the timing was right, Pierce Brosnan would have made a great Thrawn.
I don't know how well of a villain he plays.
It's more the to me it's the acting of it than the look.
That's why I
as-
felt the
as
other guy. 'Cause,
important
like, he's
as
a
the
good
look
villain.
as
The
important as the
look is
look is,
important.
watch him be Thrawn, because I feel like we haven't seen that yet. We haven't gotten any of his actual.
I think he'll do a good job, and
So
I've heard his voice a little bit, and he does at least kind of sound like the audiobook Thrawn.
Because my visual representation of Thrawn, first it's always hard with books. When you have your own personal build of something in your mind.
Well,
like,
no, it's because he's on the cover of it. I mean, they show him with the fucking
true, and he looks pretty true to that in Rebels. He looks more
Rebels.
human.
He looks like shit.
You think he?
I
Looks
think he
too
looks
round.
like shit in
think-
Rebel. He's
that's
he's
part of the
rounded out. And he's got
artistic
like
style.
this weird hairline. He looks like fucking like
He is
Screech
very
from Saved
short.
by the Bell. Fucking painted blue. I fucking hate how they make him look in
again, I
Rebels.
think for me, the Thrawn character though, like the way that he is the most. It's the thing that stands out the most.
Well, sure. I mean, it's just that the idea is the chiss they have, like the way that they explain them. It's almost like they're like elves. Think of like a chiss, like they're like a blue elf with red eyes.
Right.
Like they have a certain look that they gotta have.
Strong cheekbones, jawline, fucking
And I think this Lars Mikkelsen guy is a little bit older, but I gotta remind myself this is an older Thrawn.
Elon
so
Musk,
maybe
old
yeah,
Elon.
he looks like Elon Musk. He really
Eli Thrawn over
blue.
here.
Yeah.
He does. He probably talks
That
like
was
him,
the
too.
big reveal, though. They showed Thrawn, so we've been talking about this.
Yeah.
Talk about continuity, long-term storytelling, and just
Year.
knowing our shit. We've been talking about this for fucking years.
And
About
I
not
said
for
that would be the
nothing.
whole
So-
purpose in the
so I
show.
will-
We
I
were like,
will say
Ahsoka's
this,
going to be
too.
the Thrawn show. That's the whole point in why they would do an Ahsoka show.
Yeah.
It's literally to debut the next big bad.
Well, that's why I'm
Vader,
catching up. I
isn't
finished the Clone
Empire.
Wars now. I'm halfway through, basically through Rebels, because I'm halfway through the third season. There's only 4 seasons, but I will say that if you listen to the first canon Thrawn book, basically the ending of that book directly leads into Episode 1, Season 3 of Rebels. So it's kind of like fun how all this stuff is interconnecting now, and now
Yes.
I have like a basis of knowledge to bring into the show, so that like when they make these nods to things, I'll know what the fuck they're talking about.
I got to be honest. I had recommended like skipping season 1 of Rebels because I didn't do that. I didn't read or listen to any of that, so I didn't have a good point of reference. I watched it, but it was very like I found it the first season of Rebels to be like kind of adolescent. Just like, hey, let's introduce these characters. They're in these like fun, weird circumstances. Oh, this kid, he might have Force powers too. He looks like he's strong with the Force, but there's all this like bullshit going on. All these little fetch quests. They got to go here. They got to go
I
there.
hated his blaster lightsaber.
Yeah. So, but when Vader's introduced, that's when the show gets
The
real.
last 2 episodes of season 2,
Fucking that
some
was
of the
it.
best animated Star Wars ever.
Yes, best Vader. Well,
And then
Really good.
it's James Earl Jones' voice. Like, how
Yeah.
could you not fucking love that? And that's what I find lacking by listening to the second of the 3 Thrawn books.
any Vader.
Is that Vader is the narrator's voice?
Yeah.
I think he does a great job.
For what it is, yes,
Fine.
he does fantastic.
We're just
But
so used
the
to
fact that it's not James Earl Jones' voice takes me out of it a little.
if it wasn't James Earl Jones' voice in Rebels, it would be harder to digest.
Terrible.
You'd be like,
You'd be like, this is fucking.
this is great, but it would just,
Pure trash.
it lacks
They should
the-
feel bad.
They should feel bad. Well, now they're going to use AI. So
Yes,
now
they
James Earl Jones, we're all going to live forever.
Careful not
if
to
we're
choke
important.
on your aspirations.
Yeah, we'll get there. I think with Ahsoka coming out, we're hitting a part of this timeline, this unexplored timeline, or just unpredictable. We don't know what's going to fucking happen. I think there's nothing to look at or source to be like, oh, yeah, now, this is what's going to...
There's a lot of anticipation for
Wow.
a character that we didn't realize was still around, and now we want the full story. Because
Yes.
let's face it, the Clone Wars was her show. You know what I mean?
Dave
With
Filoni-
the exception of that last season, that was
People-
about her story.
People hated that. First of all, let's go real quick. Star Wars fans fucking hated her to start. Just,
Of course.
of course. Anything new, anything... It's like,
Anything newer
Meh.
for kids?
So, she's probably one of the best characters in the lore. She's in the top, 10. So, Dave Filoni originated her with George Lucas, but it was his, brainchild and all that. George, stamp of approval. So, all the legitimacy, the fact that people said that Rosario Dawson should play her back when she was animated, and she is. This is like the culmination of a lot of pieces, and it's Dave Filoni's like crown jewel to me. I think it should be the best Star Wars content we've gotten out of Disney.
Ahsoka is his baby with George, just as much as Grogu is his baby with.
It's John Favreau. That's a really good fucking point. That's perfect. That's really good. Yeah, without a doubt. So I mean, my point is like a lot of trust in him because Rebels is great, because fucking Clone Wars is great. Everything that he's really put his hands on has been true to the lore and the things that we love about Star Wars.
And it sells itself because now that I finished Clone Wars, now I want to go back and rewatch that third season of Mandalorian because now it's going to make more sense. Who the fuck Bo-Katan is?
It's doing the business side of things as well.
100%.
It's they're doing the creative thing that we crave.
I'm getting my money's worth for that Disney Plus.
Hey, it's not a bad deal. I'll tell you, there's a lot of great shit on there.
And now they got all the indie movies on there, so that's another incentive.
From the Dungeon is saying that they said, I don't know who they is, maybe Disney themselves, but they said Ahsoka is pretty much live action season 5 of Rebels.
That makes sense because she becomes part of their crew in that show. Yeah. And Rex does too. Rex becomes part of the Rebels crew.
Yeah, I still have to watch 2 more Clone Wars, but I don't know how they're linked, Clone Wars and Rebels.
Well, it's years later. So Clone Wars is literally everything leading up to Revenge of the Sith.
And Ahsoka is
Ahsoka is literally
Padawan of
so she's older in Rebels?
Right. So yeah, in Rebels, this is like the Empire has already been formed. Maybe not like the Death Star yet, but they're been formed. That's why Grand Moff Tarkin's in it, and Thrawn in like his early days and stuff like that.
All the good ones.
So all the players are on the board for this show. So Darth Vader and his height,
Pre-New Hope.
Pre-New Hope. Princess Leia does make an appearance in season 3, or either the end of season 2 or beginning of season 3. Princess Leia is actually in an episode, and she's not so much younger than A New Hope, so it's like
5
right
years.
around that time.
3 to 5 years was like always how I felt about it.
And this is like
not 10, but
another thing that's important about Clone Wars to enjoy other shit is that's where like Saw Gerrera came into play, because you didn't know who the hell Saw Gerrera was, but he was introduced in Clone Wars.
Oh, was he?
Yep.
Was that Forrest Whitaker or something?
Correct.
Yeah. Yep. Played by.
Yep. So it's just interesting how they're creating this web of stories that, if you take it all in, you'll realize that it all makes sense as a story,
Yep.
I think it's fucking cool that in the trailer, like they've been very like protective of Thrawn.
Yeah.
We didn't even know, like they alluded to it. They said heir to the Empire. They showed him from behind, but like we didn't see his fucking face. We didn't see Thrawn, and now they finally, and all it was like they just show his face once, and
that's why they call it a teaser.
Yeah, but that was the trailer. That's the official trailer. But they teased you at first with that back shot. Yeah, in the teaser.
He's such the, antagonist, of course.
Yes.
He's like such a good antagonist that you shroud him in the mystery.
Right.
Because
he's
every
the
time
most
we watch,
anticipated person to see, because it's like,
aside from Ahsoka,
well, we have Moff Gideon, all right, but like, where the fuck is Thrawn doing all this? You know what I mean? And that's like, now we're finally getting.
All right, here's a, and I do want to get rid of. Can we stop saying hot take? Fucking, or don't call it your own thing, a hot take.
We got a hot take.
You got a hot take here, but how do we feel that Moff Gideon lived up to our expectations, or the hype that he could, to what our expectations, I guess? He
was definitely more dangerous than I gave him credit for initially, because he was a pushover when he had the Darksaber. He immediately got his ass kicked and the saber taken away from him. But for him to like ultimately like take that Beskar and make like a new set of Empire like Mandalorian armor and all that shit was really sick.
We are going to bring in a new age of Mandalorians. Sounds like fucking Gus Fring.
Gus Fring, yeah. But I thought he played a great part. I think Giancarlo Esposito is an extremely.
I don't blame him necessarily. I just feel like
He's a great actor.
he wasn't like the great big villain. I think, that
but he
we were
wasn't
hoping
meant
for.
to be.
It's true. I mean, he is just he's a moth.
He was
you know,
just
he's
another dog on the chain of the Empire. That,
Yeah.
you know, the initial
Disposable.
wave. But when you get the cop that's pulling the chain of the search dog, that's when you realize, you know, here's the real fucking power, and that's going to be Thrawn, because Thrawn is the heir to the Empire. He's the only one that could potentially bring success to the Empire on the level that the Emperor did himself.
Well, is a Grand Admiral the highest possible military ranking that you can get?
I think Grand Moff is, because don't forget.
Isn't a Moff like a non-military, technically a non-military
guess
position? It's like
he kind of skated both worlds between military and civilian.
It's technically, I think Moffs are like technically civilian, but they're civilians in the military. I don't remember the.
Well,
the
Grand Admiral
exactly.
is a high command.
That's a
It's
military
like
rank
yeah.
and command, and I think it might be among the highest.
in the Navy. Yeah.
Because I mean, if you kill off all the guys at the top, then like who technically?
Well, that's
would-
basically what happens. Is that Grand Admiral Thrawn takes over the Empire because
Right.
there is nobody higher, and
Yeah.
he's so like
calculated.
calculating and you know what's interesting is when you listen to these books, it's not so much that he loves the Empire and that he's only loyal to the Empire because he swore that allegiance, but this book
serves
which
a
I'm
higher
listening to
purpose.
is like, all right, well, the Emperor kind of puts him in a situation where it's like, well, if it becomes between the Empire and the Chiss, what decision are
will
you
you
making? You know what I
decide?
mean?
The
Because
Chiss.
he's part of the Chiss ascendancy.
No,
which
he
is-
pretty much avoids the question because he's like, that will not happen.
Yeah.
He's just like, it's not going to happen. We are aligned, you know.
Which
we'll get-
means the chess.
I think he actually does say
Not
ultimately
answer.
though he would if he swore his allegiance to the Empire, he would side with the Empire, but they'll never be at odds.
The other thing with like the compelling thing with Thrawn that it's against the odds is that he's not a force wielder.
No, but that's what's interesting about him is that he can outthink somebody with the Force, and I think that's what's so interesting about this.
He
second
has like
book,
his own version
is
of the
because
Force in a sense.
he's with Darth Vader, and Darth Vader's stretching out the Force and doing all this shit, and he doesn't have any of that, and he's still fucking several steps ahead of what Vader's thinking about, and that's what that's where you get like a real respect.
He's
for the
like,
abilities of Thrawn.
you know,
It's like,
not Tony
That's what I
Tony
mean. He's
Soprano and his
compelling.
ability
he's not
to
boring.
yeah he
Whereas some could fall into that pit of where like, oh, they don't have the force.
It's like
they
if
can't
Goku
compete.
and Yamcha walk into a room and Yamcha's like outthinking Goku. It's like, how
Right.
the fuck is this happening right now?
but he's
Goku's
also
fucking
a
stupid.
great warrior. Like he can fight.
Right.
And like if you ever see him like getting his ass kicked, like he'll be like, "Yes, I intentionally got my ass kicked so I could see what they were gonna do." He's like, "Are you kidding me?"
Literally.
Like, yeah.
I think that happens in this one of the scenes of Heir to the Empire.
Yeah, he like stages scenarios where he'll appear weak to see how they react and then
Use
react
that later.
accordingly.
Yeah.
Speaking of though, you know, the Chiss and Thrawn and the Force, in these Thrawn books, it might be the other set of prequels, the Ascendancy, when he's still you know, with the Chiss. But he so the Chiss do have something called a Skywalker. Let me grab that actually. I'm talking here. Oh, you guys are like
That's
fucking-
dead.
Oh, is that what it is?
And he sat on his. Anyway.
Oh, jeez. They're like they're doing sign language over here. The Chiss have something called the Skywalker,
Sat on it.
and that's what immediately when Thrawn first meets Anakin Skywalker in the book that Rob's currently reading, he's like Skywalker, and that's why he's interested in him in the first place.
Yep.
Because the Chiss have something called the Skywalker, and pretty much what you end up finding out is that the way that they navigate their airships is they actually have like these little girls that have the Force,
Okay.
and they or a version of the Force, and they pretty much like I don't know plug into their aircraft and control it with their mind.
Huh.
So their ships are navigated by like a human mind that is
Gotcha.
like in a trance, not a human, a Chiss mind that's in a humanoid mind in a trance.
Trance. Okay.
And pretty much these girls have this power for I think until like they're 18 years old, and then they just like slowly lose it, and then they transition them out of that role into like a military command. Usually, like they'll try to still give them a job. It's like somebody who won the Olympics. Now what do? It's like they find something for them to do. So that's like a whole part of the story. In these, you haven't even read those yet. You learn more about the Chiss and like how they operate and the threats that's why Thrawn is so great, because we're gonna see him as an evil, sick villain, but he's also almost like a Jaime Lannister, like this gray character where now we have these prequels like what Rob's reading where he's a likable character.
Well, that's it. It's like I like Thrawn now. Like before, he was always like,
he's
fuck
like,
Thrawn.
fuck this guy. He's always like this guy
that.
just keeps winning.
You really need that. You can't have villains that are just purely sadistic. It doesn't always work that well. Even the Joker, someone to that degree, is like likable in some odd way. Right. They write it where it appeals to maybe your darker nature, where you're like, yeah, I would fucking do that too.
I always had a deep respect for Thrawn. In fact, what's funny is when they came out the Black Series 6-inch figure, I picked him up, but they also made an Heir to the Empire Luke box set, and he came with an Isalamir. So I put the Isalamir on Thrawn's shoulders next to the Luke, and then they ultimately came out with Mara Jade as well. So I got the 3 of them on my shelf.
Have you heard about the Isalamir yet?
The Isalamir? No.
So it's spelled like Islamir.
They say it. Memory sucks too.
The Islamir are like these
know what they are,
lizard dogs that pretty much are able to.
I remember that.
They reference them in the Plagueis book, actually. Okay. They can create a bubble that gets rid of the Force. And if you have like
it just happened. It just fucking happened. So I was like falling asleep. I had it on a timer, and they were talking about. He was like, "What is that?" Luke is in this. He's meeting with somebody, and he doesn't know it initially, and then
his powers just stop working.
The guy's telling him, and he's like, "Wait, they were on the craft the whole time too?" And he's like, "Yep." Luke's like, and then I fell asleep, but I know he's like,
and that's why
Thrawn, I'm so fucked. This is not good.
Yeah, and he's in a sense he's wielding the Force because he's manipulating it, and that he's got these creatures, and I think the more of them there are, the bigger the bubble becomes.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, but it like compounds and increases the range like tenfold if it's like multiple. So, but it's such a good.
It's like kryptonite, Like
I think once I finish the canon Thrawn books, because my ultimate goal is to catch up on all of the Thrawn reading that's canon, and catch up on all of the animated series before Ahsoka drops. So this way I have all the knowledge that I need going into the show. And I'm making good time because I'm halfway through the second of 3 books for Thrawn, and I'm almost done with Rebels. I mean, what I got, another season and a half of Rebels?
Yeah.
So
you're zooming through it.
Watch there's definitely some heavy teaser material in that trailer if you know all the seasons of Rebels, especially when Ahsoka goes to that painting.
Oh yeah, well they show Sabine, Hera. They have, and then they showed Zeb in Mando.
You'll get deep into, Zeb in Mando was a nice little cameo.
Played by Steve Bloom, my voice acting senpai. I'm going to see him in Texas when I go to Super Anime Fest. He's going to be there because he's the voice of Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop.
No shit.
Yeah, he's Spike Spiegel, Zeb.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's fucking awesome. So he's definitely, we're going to see him, hear him a lot.
Oh, yeah. He's probably the most booked voice actor in the history of voice acting. He has more.
Phil Lamar is definitely up there.
I think Steve Bloom actually beats out Phil Lamar as far as acting credentials. I think he has more, like, actual roles from voice acting than like anybody. I think he actually has the Guinness World Record.
Holy shit.
For like bookings for voice acting. So he's who I signed up for the voice acting class.
As much as this is an Ahsoka show, this is a Thrawn show. Our expectation.
This is a Star Wars fan show.
This
is a real Star Wars fan show.
I'm expecting a grand slam. I really see. God,
I don't know if they're going to load us up on Thrawn right away.
No. I don't think so at all.
I feel like they're going to really hold that back.
I want to say keep your expectations low for how much Thrawn knowledge we're going to get or experience. I think they're going to use him.
They got to protect
strategically him. Because just like the Emperor, that's what made the Emperor fucking great, was that you didn't even see him until, 3? You didn't see him until Jedi, right?
Correct. Well, I mean, there was a hologram of him in Empire Strikes Back,
Got
but
it.
it actually wasn't Ian McDiarmid originally. It was like
Oh, it's a fucking. Oh, that's
It's
right. It
fucking
looked
terrible.
like
It looked
Yoda, the dump. It looked
horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
horrible, is what it was.
So, that mystery when you build an enemy and a villain, it's good. It's gonna assist the show. Fucking.
And a little homage that I wanted to mention, and I wish we had a picture available to show off, but the vintage Kenner R2D2 figure obviously has like some tooling differences than the actual R2D2 from the movies that we know and love. And they paid homage to the original toy in the brief 2-second clip that they show the R2 unit in the E-Wing, which is another shout out to the Rogue Squadron games, because that was one of the ships that was available in those.
Damn,
and they actually modeled it to look like the Kenner action figure. So a lot of people
Got it up
pointed
on the
that
screen
out.
here
And,
for you.
Yeah.
Filoni
Nice.
he has one. He
So
showed.
you'll see there's
Rob
like-
has one in the fucking
He's got
thing
it on
over
the
there.
shelf.
I actually have it sealed. It's unopened Kenner bag sealed, because they were like mailing
You're
out
sick.
these figures towards the end, like just to get rid of them.
Get
And
rid-
there were like bins and bins of like unreleased toys and shit. And I bought a sealed R2D2 and a sealed Salacious Crumb from Star Wars Celebration when I went in
Beautiful.
2017, I think it was, before everybody was hating Disney Star Wars, because it was still an exciting time. Everybody liked The Force Awakens when it came out,
Right.
with the hope of like a more promising
Good
you know,
follow up.
you know.
Yeah.
And then
Set the stage well.
they dropped the first trailer for the Last Jedi, and
Looked good enough in trailer
people
form.
people were hyped. You know, everybody was there. Hayden Christensen was there for the first time in like forever. I saw him on stage.
I remember that. Yeah, everyone's like, wow.
Warwick Davis walked past me in the hallway. John Boyega was there. I saw him.
Good things have come.
And then there was
from
that girl Rose, and like I kind of felt bad that people hated her so much, because she was like
Losers.
a huge Star Wars fan that was so excited to be there, like more excited than anybody I've ever seen. Like, you know,
It doesn't
and,
mean we
like,
have to like you, though.
No, but like it's just a shame how like toxic the fan base is, where they're
It
making
wasn't-
the
yeah,
girl
it wasn't
cancel
dislike.
her social media because she's
It wasn't
getting so
her
much
fault. It was
mail
the
and
writing.
everything.
You know, it
Nothing
wasn't the
to
actress.
do with the actor.
Yeah.
No,
You think
and
the
it's-
actor wrote their part? The
You think
people are
Ahmed
stupid.
Best created
No,
Jar
but that
Jar
just
Binks?
shows.
Come
That
on,
should
you
just
know?
inform you who these people are.
Look what happened to poor Jake Lloyd after fucking episode 1. The kid
Jar Jar
don't-
Binks. I was
Yeah,
gonna
he
say
fucking not in a good way.
there's a
right
lot of examples of this era of Star Wars doing a lot of good things for.
Well, you know what it is? Because the
past.
people that were kids when that stuff dropped are now growing up, and they have fond memories of the shit because they were fucking kids. It was for that demographic.
Of course.
So when you look at Anakin Skywalker, you have a generation of people that grew up with Anakin Skywalker,
You
not
don't
with
have-
Darth Vader, and now they're trying to replace what I think Darth Vader is. You know what I mean?
Yes, when you have your own assumptions and builds of what a character should be before they're on screen or whatever represented the way that they are, it's always going to let you down. Sorry to tell you, what you have in your mind is probably better. You know why? Because you made it. You think this is how it should go, and it's always going to feel
And a lot of these
right.
man babies are like, "Oh, well, the world is changing around me, and Star Wars was the one thing that didn't change,
No,
and now
Star
that's
Wars was
changing too." And it's like,
originally
no,
the whole
Star Wars has
point
always been
was-
an evolving story. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, it
Sorry.
was- the whole point was a big universe with lots of shit going on and lots of different people and all sorts of types of aliens and this and that and whatever. It just, as time goes on, all that shit will be
I
washed
love when people
away.
are like, "When did Star Trek go woke?" I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?
What
Like,
the
what?
fuck? It's the.
Yeah.
Did you
it's the
ever watch
Enterprise,
Star
bro.
Trek?
It's the
Like,
Enterprise,
what?
bro? We don't have
First
to go down that
interracial
way.
kiss on TV.
We
So,
don't have to. Yeah, we don't have
so
to hash.
ridiculous.
It's just the internet. It's just the way that
It's hate.
things that get
It's-
amplified
it's
that shouldn't be. When you go out
keyboard
and
warriors.
breathe air
Fuck
and
those
touch
people.
grass. Yeah,
Not
when
even
you-
give them the fucking time of day. I want to actually mention before we move on from Star Wars and the books, since while people are here, we do have a free audio book to give away
Give it to me
today, right? So,
so I can finish off.
Rob,
Shows.
what
Rob's
do we-
gonna comment.
Rob, you got your own Audible account now.
Yeah, I'm
You
still
can
waiting for that
friggin-
next point.
Yeah, right. He's waiting for his points now. He's addicted. So, what we're doing, free Audible audio book. What's the contest? Do we just do the number thing, or do we want to?
This is your
don't have
points, your
anything.
game, man.
That's true. Yeah, we don't have anything. So if you can guess I'm gonna make it a very small range here.
If you can remember the name of the town, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, still look it up. Thinking of a number between 1 and 50.
Fucking number game.
1 and 50. Number
Need a better
game.
game than this.
Anybody
one
can
and-
guess it.
between one
Well, I
and
just said, has
69.
anybody got a better idea? Nothing. All right, so here's the fucking number game. You're getting a free
Sorry,
fucking
I
book.
wasn't- I
Guess
wasn't
the
on the
goddamn
spot.
number.
Born with
Can't ask
a
me on the
gifted
spot.
ability to come up with games on the fucking fly.
Yeah, what am I, a fucking game master?
think?
Fucking carnival, fucking
Do I look
carny.
like a fucking arcade game over here?
So if anybody can guess the number.
You need like a trivia question about us that you can't fucking look up on Wikipedia.
Well, From the Dungeon would always get the free book then, because he's
That's
fucking.
true,
He
he's-
knows.
How many
it's
years
day-
has Rob
day
been
one.
fat? There you go.
Oh, stop that.
Jesus.
Stop that.
So wait,
Oh man.
before moving on.
Well, all right.
I
The
just
game,
wanna
the game,
know-
here.
the game's already over. I'm just gonna say because Eric took the Gruffy took the first guess, which was 13, and that was the number. So
Jesus.
congratulations,
There you
Gruffy.
go.
You get the
Game
book. The
over.
game's over. We don't have to worry
Eric's
about the
the
comments
fucking man.
game.
That's
why.
Eric for you.
Let us get
One
your
done.
We'll get your email after the show. We'll
He
You
just
get it-
uses
you get
the
it.
fucking force and just comes in and it's like 13 and that was it.
That's it. That's like
that's it.
take it.
I was like,
Take
let me
it.
go with an obvious number.
That's a funny story. We should have Eric on the show to talk about taking.
When Eric has the time.
Eric, come over. You clearly got nothing.
Bring-
going on
have-
right
bring
now.
his
Clearly got
Pokemon.
nothing going on. No, yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure he's juggling like 4 different things right now.
Yeah. Well, we could have him discuss Pokemon. Speaking of which, since he's the topic right now,
right.
we picked up these.
He doesn't play Go though.
I know
what
he
the
doesn't
fuck
play
this
Go,
thing
but
is.
it's still fucking really cool gadget if you like Pokemon and Pokemon Go. That both Vin and I needed to get it. So yeah. The idea being, Gruffy, you will get a free audiobook of anything that we've discussed on the show. So if you want a Thrawn book, Game of Thrones books, anything that we've covered on the show, any of the Star Wars books, Plagueis, another good one.
Plagueis is the best one.
If you want
Plagueis is,
something
I think the Thrawns are the
completely
best
different,
ones, but
I still
That's true. I
suggest
only
that
listen to
anybody
the
that wants like the very first EU book
Emperor.
that
If you
was
want to know
ever
about the
created.
Emperor,
Yeah, it's
you
true.
listen to Plagueis.
yeah.
But
That's-
the first expanded universe book ever was Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and that's a really
Right.
interesting book too.
Keep hearing about
so
that.
that's another one that you might want to listen to
Is that the?
because it was created before
That was the
Empire
one-
Strikes
yeah.
Back came out.
Right.
So Luke
that
and
the
Leia are not
clone?
brother and sister. There's no I am your father. There's none of that shit.
Oh.
So this is before all of that existed. This came out in 1979. Empire came out in 80. So
Oh, that's interesting.
so this
alternate
is the
universe.
first EU book ever written.
That's
So,
cool.
Gruffy actually said, funny
Alan
enough,
Dean
he read it.
Foster.
Gruffy's read Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
I have read it. Yep.
No, Gruffy's said he's
Oh, he
read
has.
it too. Yeah.
Yeah, Alan Dean Foster. I'm pretty sure is the name of the author of that book.
So we'll talk you through the different Thrawn books. We can talk later post
Well,
show.
there's
Which
Thrawn,
books
there's
are
Thrawn
which.
Alliances, and then there's I forget the third one. And then there's-
Ascendancy.
Well, Ascendancy is another trilogy, is it not?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's
That's
a whole
it, yeah.
separate thing.
There's
I'm talking
the-
about the third book of the original trilogy of Thrawn.
So the original trilogy. Let's go through it. We might as well since we're talking Thrawn anyway. There's the original Thrawn trilogy, which is a sequel
Yeah.
to the original Star Wars movies, and that's all been washed away by Disney, unfortunately. But you have
Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, The Last Command, and then there are 2 books, Spectre of the Past and Vision of the Future, that also continue upon that story.
right.
And then you
So
get-
that's like 5 books pretty much that you would have to read in order. First book being Heir to the Empire.
correct.
Then you have prequel books which talk about the kind of the rise of Thrawn with the Empire. And I think it's just the first book's
First
just called
one's
Thrawn.
just Thrawn, and then the second one is Thrawn Alliances. Now,
Right.
the third one, you got to tell me because
Yeah, I forget
haven't
off the
scooped
top of
that
my
one
head,
yet.
but it doesn't matter. You wouldn't start with the third one. And then from there you have Thrawn Ascendancy, which goes back even further earlier in time to
So
when
this is when he was still with the Chiss before he was discovered by the Empire.
it's like his early roots, how like the Chiss culture works, and I don't even totally remember. I want to reread them because I forget them more
How
than
many
any.
books are there of that? Is that
I think
another
so far
3?
there's like 3 or maybe even 4 now. I'm not even up to date. I haven't read them all.
Okay.
I want to go back and start from the beginning, but it's like they talk about their culture and how like they have these families and like you get adopted into these families, and like at first his name isn't Mithron Neurodo, it's like Thraw. And like his name slowly they have like a nomenclature system where their name grows and grows and grows.
Gotcha.
how he gets into the military, and it's the same type of idea, just thrown with the ascendancy, and you learn how they operate, and that's where you learn how their ships navigate with the Skywalkers. So yeah, if you want a Thrawn book, those would be your choices there.
That was another kind of fun episode of Rebels. They had the giant space whales, and there was legends that they based hyperdrives on the way those whales move through space, because they actually can warp through space. And they actually were the inspiration for warp drives, and they show that off in an episode. That's why Rebels, I agree with Vin, the very first season is very juvenile. I did not enjoy it when it first came out, and I kind of dropped off from the series from then on, and then just kind of caught clips here and there of the cool shit that happens. But I gotta say, once towards the end of season 2 into season 3, expert storytelling. I'm enjoying the shit out of it as much as I did the Clone Wars, and it's all good information for the Ahsoka show if you're gonna get into that show.
Yeah,
it's
all gonna
like
tie in.
The Thrawn books are giving me the other side of the story, because I learned all of Ahsoka's story through the Clone Wars. Now I'm learning all Thrawn's story through his books, and I'm going to have a solid foundation of knowledge going into this show.
So actually, you'd be a good person to ask, because Gruffy's saying, I want whatever the first Thrawn book is, so I have no choice but to read them all. So my question is, what would you think would be better to start with? I'd say
not Heir to the Empire.
I think Heir to the Empire, because you see him in this.
Because Ahsoka's coming, and if he wants to know who the Thrawn that's going to be in that show, because he's going to have a preconceived notion of who Thrawn is from those books.
Well, I think that helps.
Learn who Disney Thrawn is first.
That's true, because those books are not canon
because
anymore.
You're going to end on a great note when you listen to Heir to the Empire and all that shit. Those are fantastic fucking stories, and you're not going to want to go.
I just feel like
the Disney books after that.
My experience was, obviously I did Heir to the Empire and all of those, and then then I was excited to learn Thrawn's backstory. Whereas if you start with his backstory, I don't know how,
Well, that only goes back because you got the Audible account and you asked me about what Star Wars books you should listen to. And then I told you about the Thrawn trilogy, and that's when you listened to it.
Well, Thrawn was always popping up, and I was always like, fuck this guy. I just thought he looked stupid. I was like, fuck this blue guy with the red eyes. Fuck him. Never knowing he's actually the best character.
No, Chris, you're fucking wrong. You're fucking wrong. But yeah, I hope that I get to...
so you're saying you think he should start with the Thrawn book, the prequel book, even though he'll have no idea the character he was in Heir to the Empire and that whole series.
You want Luke, Han, and Leia, or no? If you want
Luke, Han, and Leia and the original crew and the sequels that we deserved, not the ones that Disney gave us.
Yeah, the context of where Thrawn originates, his first appearance, in the context of the story we know, versus Thrawn in his own universe, in his own element, which is fine, but I always found when you're listening to these things, and especially when you're meeting new characters, it's good to be anchored in something that you're familiar with, and then you want to grow your knowledge, you're saying. You want to go from, who is this? He's kind of mysterious. What? Damn, he's like a bad guy, obviously. He's such a fucking bad guy. And then you're like, oh, wait, this guy's kind of fucking awesome. And then you're like, oh, want to know more? And then you can dive into the whole origin story. I always feel like that's the way it works. I think psychologically that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. We're gonna have to think about that. What would be better? I mean, I guess if you're thinking time is of the essence.
Personal preference, if you want to gear up for Ahsoka, and you want stuff that's gonna lead up to that, then listen to the new ones. If you
haven't watched Rebels, you fucking I don't know. Then if you haven't
I would actually listen to Thrawn first, because, like I said, the first episode of the third season of Rebels
leads right in.
Yeah, it leads right into that.
And the Heir of the Empire books will always be there, even though I think they're the best. They really are. They're even better than the Thrawn.
Once I catch up on actual canon Thrawn shit, of course I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to those books.
So good.
Fantastic. Top tier.
All right, well, so Disney, we're definitely looking forward to what they're doing with Star Wars and Ahsoka.
Now that everything's completely on hold as well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so I had a whole segue built up because
go.
So we're talking about the Hollywood, the writer's strike, right? all the shit that's going
Writers
on there. Right?
and actors strike. First
It's-
time
it's
since
actors now.
1960.
And apparently, one of the big things that was announced today was that they wanted pretty much the reason why they're striking is because the movie producing companies pretty much were trying to get it where they could like scan extras' faces and just use them for the rest of time without paying any
That's
residuals.
the best. That's the headline, because the
Right.
headline.
I'm
is
sure it's
AI,
not that.
and you mix AI, which is a very trendy thing right now, and the strike. It's the two topics blending.
Sure.
It is not the reason. It's definitely part of it, but it's the pay. You can see actors from all of these major shows from streaming services and are not getting, even the main characters are not getting good residuals, good pay. The game has changed. So, like I said, this is the first time since 1960 that it's happened. So the reason it happened then was TV, the advent of TV and movies being played on TV and how that was going to work with the actors' contracts and so on. So they struck and they found a deal. Now, in the advent of AI tools and AI capabilities and streaming all at once, it's completely afflicted the entire industry. And Hollywood has been like the business. It's known as the business because it's so locked in. You know what I mean? There's these huge fucking titan companies, production companies, that put all this money out, $200, $300, $400 million to make these movies, and not even make them, to market them. It really, the budgets go to marketing. So they're putting in all this investment, and they're reaping all the benefits. You see, Endgame makes fucking billions of dollars, Avatar, all this shit. But at the end of the day, that money, it's not getting to Robert Downey Jr. This isn't
they're all
who
those
is it
actors.
is. They're the faces. It's not getting to the people in the background. It's not getting to the what they call, like, I forgot what the job actors. There's a term for it.
Jabronis.
Phil is actually the perfect guy that's missing from this conversation right now. Phil's birthday was this week. Happy birthday, Phil.
Happy
Birthday,
Phil.
Phil.
And he's on vacation with family and his girlfriend, so he's having a great time. But he's the guy. He's was in the business. He worked on Orange is the New Black. I wish we could get his insight, because an Orange is the New Black actress came out and said, like, she got like a $350 check for that fucking, doing that show. She flew herself out to be on it because the exposure, the opportunity, just being happy to, like, work. But it's lopsided. The whole boat, everything's tipped over. Bob Iger came out and fucking shot himself in the foot and was just basically saying, like, this is happening at the worst possible time. And, anything you say is pretty much wrong right now, because he makes fucking $44 million a year. Well, it's in stock options. You got to make sure the company performs. He's not the CEO of a movie company. He's the CEO of a giant Titan park. You could give him all the excuses in the world why he would make that money. It's still lopsided. He makes too much. They make too little. People at the bottom are getting fucked. This is across the country. This is across all industry. But because it's the business, that guild, Screen Actors Guild, that union has so much control and power that when they want to shut shit down, that is shut down. There's no writing. There's no content. There's nothing happening right now. Your favorite shows are on pause.
And it's going to affect other industries that people don't realize, like comic book conventions and stuff.
Everything.
Because a lot
They
of
can't
them can't promote their shows. So
Comic-Con?
unless they're there to meet and greet with fans, which is allowed, they can't, like,
That's
talk
not their
about
personal choice.
They
don't
can't
go
talk about
there.
prospective projects. They
No.
can't do video shout-outs for people and stuff
The
like
big
that.
ones get paid to go there to do that.
Which is interesting.
So
I
they're not
actually
gonna
got
go.
an email from Cameo saying that they actually have a special contract with SAG-AFTRA that you're actually allowed to continue doing cameos during the strike.
Because it's a personal.
There's some kind of, like,
They're using your own personality. It's nothing to do with the movie or the character in the movie or promoting some kind of, something for a studio. That's good that at least, little shit
I
like
thought that was interesting that I got that email today. But
Your voice
it's,
actor.
it's crazy. It's very, very crazy. We're getting to a point now where it's just going to implode on itself because we're making things more and more expensive. We're not meeting the rising costs with livable wages, and that's spilling into every industry, let alone the film industry. And then you're getting things like the streaming services where during the pandemic, movies didn't even make it to the movie theaters, and a lot of studios are dependent upon those ticket sales, and then the Blu-ray release, and like there were like,
Yes.
you know, there were
Stages.
waves to the profits,
Yep.
and now it's like, all right, well, they threw it on Netflix. Somebody paid $14.99 for the subscription.
We don't know how much it's
and we're
making
gonna
us.
divvy up that like a million times before it gets to the studio. You know what I mean? It's
And the CEO's taking this much, and the executives, and this, and the shareholder. Like
exactly
the money's not getting. There's money. It's just not getting where it needs to go. So yeah, you got to hit the pause button. I was just trying to think of like what's some of your most anticipated stuff that is now indefinitely on hold.
Now, I wonder if this is going to affect the video game industry too, because of mocap and all that kind of stuff. Like, could something like the Wolverine game get pushed now because of this? Because there's going to be an actor.
Well,
in
there's
that
already
suit.
been some rumbling about this with that one game. I forget what it was called. It's like some chick, and she's like the voice actor on it, and she wasn't getting paid enough. So
It will
left.
bleed out.
What is it?
Was it Bayonetta?
But maybe it
sounds
was
right.
Bayonetta. I think that
it
was it.
Bayonetta.
And then they were going to use AI in like the next game, like a whole. That seems to be the
Well,
theme.
sure.
That's
That was
like the theme
actually
now.
that was gonna kind of be my segue was with this AI thing. We have already started seeing that in Star Wars with like Tarkin. You know, they brought Tarkin back. I wonder if the guy who played Tarkin got any estate.
I think his
I
estate
think-
was compensated for.
I
or
think
at
when
least
you
they asked them.
Yeah, I think when you look at the top 10, 20 build actors, you don't have to worry about them. They got good lawyers.
You prefer a different target,
they
a
got-
military target?
Their
than maybe
contracts
the
are
system?
ironclad.
Well, some Tarkin. It's not like
If you're a Harrison, I'm just saying Harrison Ford, and if
I
you're a
get tired
top
of
build,
asking this, so to be the last time. Where is the rebel base?
I would assume, and maybe it's wrong of me to assume, but their lawyers have the ability to make sure the contracts are just right. You know what I mean? They're getting their fucking
Drinks
fair
are on
share.
the house.
But if you're on the bottom of that, you sit through the credits of every movie you watch? You know all those fucking people?
That was the headline again today was they were saying not that the main actors were, their likeness was going to be used for all time, but that like extras that their likeness could be used in other things. So like just imagine
Forever.
you play an
Like
extra in
perpetuity.
something and then suddenly your face is in something else. But
and then you didn't get paid for that.
right. But one thing I do find like interesting with this whole AI thing is one of the big criticisms about Hollywood the past 10 years has been that there's nothing original. It's all remakes and, relaunches or whatever, right? That's like the big gripe that everybody has. And there's probably some truth to that. I don't mind going back to the well and reusing IP that is good as long as you honor it correctly. But
I don't think it's for lack of ideas.
yeah,
I think it's
It's a harder sell to sell an artsy movie
business.
than a
Yeah,
big blockbuster.
business executives are like, more Marvel, more summer block.
Right.
You're not getting
Now-
Citizen Kane anymore.
Now they
You're getting
realize,
fucking Marvels.
this isn't working. Like, the Marvel movies are dipping, the Marvel everything. They're talking like Bob Iger comes in and goes, yeah, it's too much. It's just too much of it. Too much volume, not enough creativity, not enough concentration. Like, it's not good.
here's
And
what
it's
I was going to
expensive, too,
It's going to
go
ruin
the
everything
movies.
else. So you might as well just stop it. Like, the strike is almost a good thing for that reason.
Right.
Pause. Everyone, slow the fuck down.
I want to make a point, though.
Oh,
So
please.
my point is that, obviously they've been going back to the well. There's not a lot of original ideas right now. Just before the show, I played, a song, and it was an AI-generated Johnny Cash singing the Barbie Girl song. And it sounds great. I loved it, honestly. I thought it was awesome.
It's entertaining.
We're seeing a
Did
lot
Johnny
more
Cash get
AI
paid?
music in general. We're seeing somebody made Biggie Smalls rapping over Nas,
Right.
and it was fucking awesome. Like,
Right,
it's
yeah.
really good. And part of me is not okay with saying, no, we can't have that. Nope, don't make any Johnny Cash songs. Don't make any Biggie Smalls. He's not going to get paid.
First of all,
I get that. But there's also like a whole, thing that we're not even able to see. But anyway, my point is, I'm a little all over the place. My point is that my concern is if you fast forward another 20 years or 30 years or however long, it's
They
going
can
to be
make
very
anybody say
easy to
anything.
just like reuse already existing like likenesses, like George Clooney. Here's George Clooney, even though he's dead, but it's people like him.
It's Futurama. It's the heads in the jars.
It's the heads in the. It is like the heads in the jars. It's a good comparison, but my point is, it's going to be harder for like new people, like new actors to break in when you could just have an AI fucking.
Everyone, unless there's immortality created, not everybody's interested in Harrison Ford, who's fucking under the age of whatever. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah,
I'm just letting you know. As you get older, the things that you love will die with you. Like, not everything's going to live forever, and not every... So even with that concern, which I understand, like, there's...
I'm talking slippery slope.
Very,
there's
like, no
like,
doubt in my
what
mind,
if
AI is the most slippery slope we've ever
Exactly.
approached.
It's a slippery, and it's fun to talk about. And my point is, like, let's say this all started in fucking the 1920s, and we had fucking...
What if
what's
AI
his name?
just goes, yeah, I'm just going to do it anyway?
Well, there's that. What's the name of the fucking guy? Charlie Chaplin. Like, what if AI existed
Would
and
you
like
be interested in a Charlie Chaplin movie?
now with the benefit of you're not letting me make my point.
Sorry.
My point is that when was Charlie Chaplin? Like 1920 or something?
It's motion pictures. So
whenever the fuck. Let's just say he was 1920. If AI was introduced in 1940 or not even 1930, and they just keep recycling Charlie Chaplin, maybe people never grow out of that. We're tired of Charlie Chaplin. You know what I mean? Like, if we took a Charlie Chaplin AI movie now, nobody would give a shit. Well, but if you're in the moment, in the time, recycling that shit.
To the point of recycling, you don't do a Charlie Chaplin movie. What you do is Robert Downey Jr. as Charlie Chaplin, and you retell the story from the behind the scenes, which they did, was already done. So I get your point. No, you're right. Like,
well, AI is like the internet. It's a tool that can be either used for great things or terrible things.
All right, technology is fire, and it will burn down your house or it will cook your food and feed you. Like it's definitely not controllable in the way that you want it to be. It is an industry, like let's say what is represented on the silver screen, but guys like James Cameron, people are going to want to use these tools. Like hell or high water, if these things can help you,
I kind of want them to use some of these tools.
I agree.
I think that
totally
they're
agree.
doing cool
I'm not
things.
arguing at all.
Like that's the thing is, again, I heard that Biggie Smalls song. I was like, I
paintbrush.
want more of that.
It's a paintbrush.
Like there are musicians that are very alarmed and they're saying this is the worst thing ever and never do this in my own music. They're at risk.
The problem
but
is,
I want to hear more of these Biggie Smalls AI raps.
It's probably how a lot of people felt in the film industry when they went from practical effects to video editing.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's
you know how many?
kind of thing. You
just
take
look at
away my
Jurassic.
job. I made
Jurassic Park actors,
and now this computer is rendering it, so it's taking away my job.
Jurassic Park is the best representation of exactly what you're saying, because at ILM, they already had the puppeteers making the dinosaurs. They had footage of these, and that was scrapped. When when two guys, one guy really made the computer animation of the T-Rex walking, and he basically played it when Spielberg was touring ILM to put it in his brain that this was possible. It was like a Trojan horse move, and it changed everything, and there was that same exact fear. I think it's true that there was a reason to be fearful, but you're telling me there wasn't shitty stuff back then, too? Like, of course there's shitty movies with too much green screen, and George Lucas fucked up the prequels with too much green screen, but Filoni learned the lesson. Favreau learned the lesson. You got to go through these things. We got to learn. We got to fail. Keep using it. You can't stop. You can't, to your point, I question with the AI, B.I.G. song, doesn't it get people interested in his music? Doesn't it feed interest in like, he's rapping this? Like, some kids might have never heard Nas or Big, and they heard this, and they were like, oh, that's cool. It keeps them relevant. It actually keeps you in the conversation. It might not be as toxic as you're thinking, but
it works for
a lot of fear.
For the big fish. It obviously doesn't.
Going back to your Charlie
fish.
Chaplin, now people know who Charlie Chaplin is because he was brought back into the limelight.
Yes,
just like you ask a fucking 14-year-old kid, who the hell is Dick Tracy? They're not gonna know who the fuck he is. But they came out with a movie next year. Guess who's everybody fucking hopping on the Dick Tracy train and getting the fucking yellow hats and shit?
Wow, they're hopping on the dick.
They're hopping on the dick.
That's crazy, Tracy.
I just feel like now it's possible that we may see some of these actors and actresses that we know and love for like 300 years now. I wonder if this is going to, and this is the proper use of the word, so I'm not trying to offend anybody, if this is going to retard development of creativity in a way.
Your anger. So now we're gonna have to put in the credits like parentheses deceased. Like, is that gonna be a thing now? We just gotta.
As long as somebody's getting paid,
What
I'm
if-
sure
No,
we're
it's
yeah.
just
okay
going to be
with
another
it.
20 minutes of
I don't think
credits
the
for all the
kid-
fucking software developers that created the AI. You know?
Yeah.
Once they're just like, we don't even need actors. Like, bloop,
Actually,
fucking-
it's going to be credit of one because the computer made the whole movie.
But no, I these people, they're doing the right thing. You know, I'm a spoiled consumer, and sure, yeah, I want my fucking House of the Dragon or whatever thing is gonna inevitably be delayed, and we're sitting here in a year on this same couch complaining that, well, here's the content or whatever we're bitching about. Everyone's gonna do the same, but you know, I think everybody needs to stand up. There's a lot of this unionization and striking, and people are fed up because you can see the profit margins. You can see that technology has fed the efficiencies of productivity and created an economy where there's a lot of money out there, but it's not trickling down to not have a better fucking...
People ain't making enough money, and you can't use a pandemic to blame on it anymore. So now,
Oh, well,
now people
yeah,
want
no.
action. They want change. That's it.
Technology has changed the face of the planet. We've lived through, I think, what everybody expected the internet could do. We're shopping online. We're watching movies. Everything's happening on the fucking internet. The show's happening on the fucking internet.
We're on the internet right now.
So
Hello,
now,
internet.
what's the next phase? We got the AI, we got the robotics, and we got the AR stuff.
You got the jacket.
and it's a jacket.
I think
That's crazy world we're
art
living
is going to change in all forms of it, whether it be pictures, photography.
But just like in
music.
history, art going to change with the times. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And you're going to have somebody that doesn't consider themselves an artist now,
What-
but once they get something like an AR headset and they start drawing insane shit in a 3D world, you're going to have a whole set of new skills. You know what
What-
I mean?
So there's
What
always
is
going to
art?
be new forms arising. That's a good point.
Art is expression, right? And if you can express yourself, whether it's written word or painting or graphic design, whatever medium you have to express, now with the advent of what we have and what's coming with AI, if you can explain what you want and it can express it for you, is that still art? I think that becomes the ultimate question more than anything to me. If I could tell something, a video game that I want, and it can do it for me, I'm not arguing with that. I want that. Sorry.
And I
Got
think
this. People
that
commission art all the time and be like, I want this, this, and this, and that, and then it's produced by somebody else. Is that your art or is it their art? You know, it's
you have
an ambiguous
songwriters.
question.
What concerns me a little bit, and we've touched upon this in the past, is just like how everything is so commercial and money. It's all about the money.
Yes.
But art has always involved stealing other people's ideas in some way or another. It's inspiration,
It's
but
nature. It's
there's always been borrowing of and the problem is now everything is like, oh, you copyright, and it's like, for thousands of years,
you're going.
for thousands of years, this is how fucking human beings have worked, and this is how it's kind of
I
worked.
could play a song right now and it'll just get this whole show like just canceled off the internet.
I just, when they're saying, when this AI is making a cartoon for somebody, and they trained it off of a couple of different artists, anime or whatever, and they're like, they're stealing, these artists, they're stealing their work. Like, no, their work still exists. You could still watch it. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like, really, in order for art to work, there's always going to be a little bit of, you can call it inspiration, you can call it ripping off, as long as you're not blatantly ripping off and copying something, but I don't know. I don't like
If
that
you're
it's
copying it and making money from it, that's when it's wrong.
right.
If
Copying.
If I'm just putting, but no, that's no. You're the essential example of parody. Parody is
Yeah, because I make my own jokes with a character that's already
not only
established. You know?
you're real. You're not drawing something to replicate. You're not going through that.
I'm a variant.
You just happen to be Earth, whatever this one is, whatever number we decide.
We're not 616 because that's the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's the
But
good.
see, but your shtick is protected
In
because
court, it's parody.
because of parody. But let's just say one day they're like, nope, Fox isn't getting paid. You're not allowed to be Peter Griffin anymore.
You'd be like,
what
yeah.
good,
Well, I guess I
what
gotta
good
get
did
fed.
that do for the world? All you did was fucking kill people's good fucking time because somebody else wasn't making money. And I don't know. I have a problem with that.
Corporations, I mean, lawyers are the death of, everything. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
There will be too much money to be
It's
lost.
Not just,
the
but
biggest
you,
theme-
no, you give the you don't give the artists enough.
lawyers and insurance
That's what you
companies
said. I
run
know,
everything.
and I get what you're saying.
Everything.
But Lars Ulrich from fucking Metallica was the artist himself. That was one of the biggest drivers against something like Napster. So the artists are involved too. They want to be paid. Some of them are fucking greedy.
Boy, where's more
Fucking
fun?
outspoken.
One of his lawyers went to him and went,
No, they were
You know
pissed.
you're not
They
getting
saw
any
the
money
money
for
that
this.
they weren't making. They saw it directly. I mean, they made so much
Napster-
less money.
Napster, you could go back and point to that innovation. That's what's going to happen with AI. They're going to put AI behind. They're going to gatekeep.
Some kind of paywall.
It's
They're gonna
gatekeeping.
make- they're
They're
gonna
not
make
going to
laws.
give it to you.
Right.
We're not going to have open source access until someone decides to, whoever it is.
Well, we
but
kind of do now have it, but
that's bullshit. It's gatekeeped by Microsoft and OpenAI. That's
the
thin down.
OpenAI is free.
well, I'm just saying it's thinned down generative AI.
Sure,
it's
it's not. It's not what the
it's a
rich people have
language
access
model.
to.
Yeah, it's not what Google and Apple and all of these guys are going to have access to in tomorrow. In the next 2 to 5 years, they're going to be using this thing to model everything they have, every bit of data they have on everybody. They're going to use it to all they're going to do to how can we squeeze another dollar out of this motherfucker?
They're gonna have a little
The
throne
whole
machine
point-
that just think of everything for them.
I mean, that's at the core of it, a corporation is a soulless entity. It's not a person or a thing. Its motive is making money.
It's a brain
I'm
you
on
don't
a
have to
tear
pay.
of anti fucking corporate America, but I think AI is just one of those really clear examples where like your fears are right, but also technology is such a freight train, impossible to stop, almost inevitable that there's just a reality to it. You're going to have to deal with its outcomes. There's no stopping it. You can't put any blocks against it. And the only thing you can really do is what these people are doing is fight and say like, I want my share. No one's going to give you your share unless you fight for it. They're not going to willingly just give you more money. So they're lucky they have the power to shut everything down. They have faces like Matt Damon and fucking Leonardo DiCaprio, everybody to just put a face to what they're doing, put a message behind it. Because if me, you, and we all tried to strike, that shit ain't going to communicate. That's not going to get anywhere.
No.
No. You fucked, bro. You fucked.
All right. Well, lots going on here. What else did we have? We had a couple other things we were gonna touch upon today, right?
No, I don't think that was it. But
Those
we do.
major strokes,
I do
right?
want to mention
Ooh,
that
he's a
next month, towards the end of the month, I'm going to be going to Texas, like I mentioned, for RGV Super Anime Fest. It's going to be a good time. New York Comic Con is looming. I know it's going to be October, but October's going to come before you fucking know it.
God.
Now, once the weather is nice outside, it just like a blink and it's fucking over. I mean, we're almost.
It's mid to
We're
late
halfway through July already.
Yeah, it
What?
sucks. I haven't even been to the beach once. I have to go this every weekend. It
Fuck.
rains here. I don't know if there's a timing thing or every.
It's El
weekend it
Nino.
rains.
It's the fucking
El
Canadian
Niño.
fires. It's the
Wait,
fucking
that was
plants are
fun.
dying. It's great.
Oh, you know what I want to bring up? I know what I want to bring up. It's local news.
Oh yeah, the
Breaking
Gilgos.
news.
Oh yeah.
Long Island, New York. We're on the map for the wrong fucking reason again. The Gilgo Beach killer's been found. 30-page indictment. They arrested the guy this morning from
Wasn't it some
Massapequa.
kind of
Suspected.
Wasn't there
but
some kind of pizza
probably.
crust? That they
Alleged.
grabbed DNA or
Yeah.
something?
That's. I just read that before I came over here. So apparently, I don't know if like 23andMe played into it at all, but apparently they took a pizza crust. Like he was eating pizza, and they took. I guess maybe he threw it away, and they had an suspicion that it was him, so they fucking grabbed it and swabbed it, and that's how they were able to match it up to a hair that was on a burlap sack or something like that. And one of the victims.
Really? They would have had to have some real probable cause to be following him and to capture anything that he touched.
So I'm gonna
So it's
guess
interesting how
somebody
they
in his
got there.
family did 23andMe, and they were like, "Oh, this matches the hair that was in that burlap sack. So who is this person related to?" And then that brought them, closer to him. It's probably how they were. That's just me speculating. I don't know.
Jesus, fucking, that is something.
So there's
23 me's a snitch.
23.
I took a
to me, they're
forensics
25
class.
in life, you know.
Well, that guy, he's
Fuck
a
that
little older too. I took
Yeah,
a
he's
forensics
fucked.
class, and there's this rule. I forget what it's called. Bonus points to anybody that can figure out in the comments. You'll get a free
Audio.
get a free audio book. There's like this rule that whenever two surfaces come in contact with one another, there's always like an exchange of like material. So like by me rubbing my hand across this fabric, there's little, whether it be very small, there's fabric pieces, and there's probably some skin cells on here. So there's like always like an exchange. Forget what that rule is called, but yeah,
The rule of two. No,
the rule of
Star
two.
Wars, sorry.
But yeah, I guess there was what just all it took was a hair. It's like
How-
Gattaca, man. Have you ever seen Gattaca?
Yes, Gattaca is one of the fucking craziest, most interesting fucking movies. They showed me that in school.
I saw that in
long
school
time
too.
ago.
Yeah. And another dystopian.
That's a CRISPR thing. That's like literally
Right.
the CRISPR genetic editing thing. We're
Do you know what that's
we're
about,
living
Rob?
every
Gattaca?
fucking
What?
sci-fi
in a
nightmare.
nutshell. Do you know what Gattaca's about? Long story short, it's like you have a future where all the babies, now that they can edit genes, they edit their genes so
If
they
you're
don't get
rich,
sick.
if you're rich, you can make
No,
the
no,
perfect kid. Yes,
I
There's
think it's-
classes.
wasn't
it's a
it
class
most-
system? No, Ethan Hawke.
You know better than me. I kind of
Oh,
forget.
really? Oh, because Ethan
Well, no.
Hawke was not allowed into this program because he was poor.
Well, no,
And not
wasn't it that his
genetically-
parents, they had a special word for parents that had babies like by love without editing them?
Right, and it was a class system. It
They-
was
it-
basically,
yeah.
this is going to create a class system where rich people can edit their baby genes to whatever they want. No cancer, no this, no that, this height, this color hair, everything. They could model it down
No
to-
illnesses,
to the
no
T.
predispositions.
Whereas, obviously, broke people can't do that shit.
You have
know what I
natural
mean?
born people that are pretty much untouchables, and he pretty much
Wants to go to space. His dream is to go to space. Can't because he's not
Perfect.
perfect. And one of the perfect people, he ends up breaking his neck, his spine.
He's like a paralyzed.
Jude Law.
Final.
He was
Spinal.
genetically engineered so that he wasn't predisposed, and he would have been a great, but because
Perfect.
of
He would have been great. Perfect. They're perfect.
but he was injured in
perfect.
something, so he's paralyzed.
So
they're
they're
like,
exchanging blood. So the whole thing is that Ethan Hawke is constantly going to this like NASA type futuristic facility and having to give the other guy's DNA like skin cells, and he'd have to like scrub himself, at night to try to get as much of his DNA off himself.
you
It
remember how
was
they
like
find him, right? They found out because of an eyelash.
one eye. Yeah, this fucking guy's eyelashes fall into his eye every day.
Yeah,
Uh, it's funny because it's a movie that I feel like is so under the radar. You just don't hear about it. Doesn't really get it, but it's definitely one of the most
Good movie.
forward-looking. It's probably
It's
the
like it's
most
pretty much what we're
predictable
talking about
thing.
today. It's a slippery slope type of thing. That's
It's like
interesting.
Demolition Man today,
Oh my god, yeah, that was another good precursor movie.
Illuminate.
Illuminate.
Now I got these Philips light bulbs.
I'm seeing all these people now on like that I know that are like there's this one girl that I used to work with that lived 4 doors away from him.
Oh,
how
in
fucking crazy
Massapequa?
is that?
Yeah, Billy
Yeah.
Baldwin went to school with him.
Yeah,
That's
I
funny.
saw Billy
So
Baldwin
his
put a post.
tweet.
There's like
Graduated with this fucking guy.
I mean, hey, I'm hopefully they did catch him. It's
That
pretty
was like
fucking
a
crazy.
25-year unsolved mystery. This is going to be, I think,
2010, yeah.
Netflix. We're going to get the whole fucking treatment with this thing because this guy lived like a normal life, too. He's an architect or some
Yeah.
crazy. His house looked like shit, got to say. Instantly made me think of
Even the neighbors were
interior
like,
decorating.
he kept to himself, normal morning pleasantries, like if you see a neighbor, but like
Yeah.
he kept to himself.
Hey, just murdered this fucking girl last night. Yeah, I guess you never know. You can't, it's never what you think it would be.
Oh my
They don't have
God!
to
They
be
were saying, what are they
sadistic
going to
dominers.
ask the neighbors? They're like, oh, he used to watch our daughters all the time, but they disappeared. We never found out what happened to them, but they would be devastated to hear this news.
I mean, the girls were obvious easy targets for
Yeah,
they
they
family, no fam, whatever. The circumstances are what they are. They're still people. So
Yeah, of
fuck
course.
yourself.
I heard like somebody played it at work and it, like fucked up my day. There was like a recording of I guess one of the women before they were killed where they called the cops and they're like, I need help. Somebody's following me. I'm at a house. They're like, where are you? And she was like, I don't know if she was high or drugged or what. That just fucked with my day, man. So fuck that guy. May he.
This is gonna be news for like the next 2.
You know what's gonna
years.
happen?
Oh,
No,
gonna be
it's not
rough.
even just gonna stop here. It's gonna be
Netflix.
he's gonna get killed, or he's gonna kill himself, and then they're gonna be like, he didn't kill himself. It's gonna be a whole fucking several news cycles and conspiracies around this guy.
The guy that abused all the Olympic fucking girls, he got stabbed.
He got
in prison.
stabbed in prison.
Yeah.
Did he really?
He didn't die though. The fucking asshole.
Oh.
Everybody was happy about that. That's what would usually happen. You just get
Yeah.
We're gonna put you
Watch Oz,
Put you
you'll
out
see.
here. Yeah.
Watch an episode of Oz, you'll see it really quick.
But yeah, it's sick. That's I went to Gilgo Beach.
When I was a
my
kid, I
whole
used to go all the
life,
time. Yeah,
as a teenager, that whole
that was
time
like
I
the
don't know,
go-to
I
as a
hate to
kid.
think,
Like Gilgo was
you
like
just
the place.
driving by skeletons out there in the dunes. All right,
Damn.
yeah, it's fucking.
Well, on that note,
yeah. Sorry.
glad we're all still here.
Hey,
We
fat
got
people
free
are-
audiobooks on
fat
the
people are hard
horizon.
to kidnap, so So who did they ever figure out the touch thing for the other audiobook? The rule of the touching and
Oh,
the two
no, yeah,
surfaces and
nobody-
shit? Did we get any answer to that?
We're dying down. It's getting late.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to play video games.
Everybody scratching their wrists.
Count your blessings, folks.
We're gonna go see Oppenheimer's coming out next week. That's the last thing I'd like to end on. That's pretty much it.
That's right. Yeah.
Oppenheimer is next
Now
week.
I am Vishnu.
I have become.
I have
Death.
become.
It's gonna be the
Destroy
first
worlds.
successful box office bomb.
Yeah, I kept seeing the thing. It was fucked up. It was like, oh, this movie's banned in Japan. I was like, all right, guys, let's calm down here. It's not banned in Japan. It's not nice.
He's an interesting character.
I mean, Oppenheimer has quite the fucking story because
Yeah.
it's not, it's not an American hero fucking story really,
Star-studded cast too.
especially at the
Where
end.
is Oppenheimer from? Is he American or is he German or something?
I don't know.
I don't remember
know
where he's-
all about him.
A lot of those scientists that I know were from Germany. I'm trying to remember what his. I mean, Oppenheimer sounds German. Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
I just
Well,
know
they even
that
had
they're.
Albert Einstein. I think they
Einstein.
took all the major.
Einstein
minds
wasn't
in
there.
the
Einstein, I think, is like.
He had
more-
something to do with it.
I think he's going to be tolling the warning bell of like, you shouldn't do this, but the problem is there's other people doing this. Like, yes, Oppenheimer's aware and the Americans are aware that the Nazis are trying to build the bomb.
Yes.
This nuclear energy thing, just like this AI thing, it's inevitable. It's coming. It's a race.
You better catch up.
Yeah,
Was
you
it-
better win,
Fuck if-
actually.
yeah.
If you don't win, you're dead. You're the loser.
You're 1 year behind. You're light years behind.
And how it leaks to the Russians because the Russians set off a plutonium bomb within X amount of years. So
It was Truman that dropped
Truman did.
So I remember in Hardcore History, phenomenal podcast.
The
Listen
best.
to it,
Dan
Dan Carlin's
Carlin's the
Hardcore
fucking
History.
man.
It's the only time I ever heard him curse. Actually,
I meant to ask you: did Dan Carlin do a thorough World War II thing, or was it something that he felt was overly done that he didn't need to do?
no, he did several. He did something called Ghost of the Ostfront, which focuses specifically on Germany versus Russia during World War II. And
That was-
the
they
whole
were-
Eastern
the
Front,
Russians were
which
fucking like,
20 million
rough.
dead, bro.
well, no, not even the Germans were rough to the
them.
Russians.
Yeah.
The Germans
But that's
attacked
why
Russia.
the Russians became so fucking.
Well, that was the whole
Yes.
thing. Is pretty much they didn't sign what is it, the Geneva Convention or whatever the rules were of that time, the rules of
Post
war.
World War One.
So they just treated them like the Germans fucking were so brutal to the Russians, and then in retaliation, yes, the Russians were worse. The battle on the Eastern Front was
Far worse.
crazy, even
Far
crazier
worse.
than anything that America saw. But anyway, when Oppenheimer met Truman, I think he shook hands and he said, "Sir, I feel like I have blood on my hands." And Harry Truman's like, "Oh, shut, don't
Right.
worry about it, or whatever." And then afterwards, though, he's like, "I never want to see that fucking guy again. Fuck him.
Yeah.
It's not him that has to fucking feel this. It was me that made the decision." So Harry Truman did not like Oppenheimer.
It was basically anti-American to say wasn't they to drop the
express
bomb.
guilt.
Yeah, to say they knew what. I can't wait to watch this because I feel like getting inside their heads during this moment. Because anytime you see a nuclear explosion, and that's kind of the sick appeal of the movie, which is kind of, I don't know, oddly gross at the same time. It's appealing.
It's like a train wreck.
Everyone wants to watch. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. It's like watching a car crash or a train wreck, and you can't look away. A nuclear bomb is just the most insane thing to see
they didn't know if they were gonna destroy the world and like burn the atmosphere.
I mean,
Like, there got to a point with
chain
Russia.
reaction might never stop.
Russia created a nuke at like the height of the Cold War.
The Tsar.
The Tsar bomba that was so massive that they ended up not they had to weaken it. They were like going to do it on one scale, and they were like, if you might literally ignite the atmosphere by doing this and kill everybody.
It's a warning too, because I think it happened so long ago, and we've had a lot of successful treaties to thwart.
We haven't had to fear nukes on a regular basis.
Yeah,
like we did during
we're in that unfortunate period of time where we're so far removed from World War II. The people who fought are gone.
Hopefully, this
the
movie's
memory
a good
is
reminder of why we shouldn't get into this kind of fucking
I
thing.
think that's the motivation. I think that's part of the motivation of doing the movie, because there is this infatuation with what may happen in the future. Obviously, all the
It's
conflict.
all fun playing a Fallout game, but when you're living in a Fallout game,
Yeah, I think it's cool in Duke Nukem, or it's fun in Doom to launch.
It's cute to watch a little cartoon guy going like this, but what he's really doing is seeing if he's far enough away from a mushroom cloud, if he's going to die of radiation.
The reality is
3.2 Röntgen.
the end of the world. 3.2 Röntgen. Yes.
Not terrible.
This
This
is just not great.
Oh, that's the Chernobyl show that you guys.
Oh, yeah,
Chernobyl
dude.
is the
You never
best.
watched that
It's
on
probably
HBO?
one of the best things on HBO. ever
Chernobyl,
happened.
it's a really good show. It's like only like 6 episodes. You can binge
Fantastic.
through it.
About an hour
First
apiece.
Oh yeah.
Something like that. Hour
First
and a half.
episode will have you. There's no way you could watch it. It's so.
And then we could joke
gripping.
about it afterwards because there's a lot of.
Chernobyl's.
Yeah.
The way
It's-
that he talks.
Gentlemen, everything is under
The
control.
political party has
It's-
everything under. And who's in it? Fucking
Oh, a lot of Game of
Was
Thrones.
Watto in
Lewin.
it?
Lewin's in it.
Maester Lewin's in it.
Making him sound like Watto.
Bruce Bolton's in it.
You're gonna laugh.
Get me wrong. I get the fade in there,
He's
boy.
very close without the gurgle, without the
Yeah,
extra.
yeah.
It's like
It's-
vocal cords are strange.
Chernobyl's great because it just shows like the incompetence.
Oh,
And like there's
oh,
these
the
guys
politics.
just at the what do you call it, the nuclear
Soviet
facility or
Union.
whatever, the reactor, and like it's just some asshole just like leading the thing, fucking
It's-
everything up, and then the government like just denying it and downplaying it, and it gets so bad that like other countries are like, you're like, we're getting
We've
like shit
tested-
wafting over
Yeah.
here, like what's going on over there, like you couldn't hide it. And,
It's
oh my
ugly.
God,
It's a really
so
good.
ugly.
It's known as like kind of the definitive moment of the fall of the Soviet Union. Actually, it's one of the clear examples.
Aren't there even like still dogs that are like radiation poison that live on that?
First,
property
there are
over there?
people that
They
still live
killed
near.
dogs.
Second, in a recent conflict, there are, because this is in Ukraine,
Yeah.
Weren't they like bombing a fucking
they're
facility
fucking
over
tossing the dirt there, and it's lifted. You could get into the stupidity of this whole thing. This was hidden from the Russian people, period, for the decade after. It was just never discussed ever there.
Yeah.
It's just one of the biggest embarrassments of that government, and it shows how when government, socialism, and people's jockeying for power is more important than anything, why it's bound to fail. It'll never fucking work, because when that's the structure, when there's all this ass licking and capitulation,
Can't
to
be a
the,
yes man during a nuclear meltdown. It's just like it just stops being a tenable
the
option.
denial, the level of denial that there are scientists, they're just regular everyday people there who are doing their job, who aren't politically motivated, but the people in power and control are purely politically motivated. And they're just in this extreme denial to the point where they're getting radiation sickness because they're so close to this fucking exposed
Sounds familiar,
reactor.
you know?
Yes, it's all These
Yeah.
stories are important because they're warnings.
It's
But
like the first guy they're like, go check on the reactor and make sure that it's melted
Just go
down.
look
Just
into
go
it.
walk into radiation.
It's impossible. What you're saying you saw, you didn't see. That was like one of the most common
Right.
things in that first episode. Really great. You want to know the other funny thing? You said HBO before. I noticed that.
Oh, you mean Max?
No. I noticed there was a lot of awards going out for whatever Emmy nominations. And guess what they put next to all the great shows that have come out? HBO. They don't put fucking Max. They're not putting HBO Max or Max. Guess
Fuck
what? These
Max.
The
are
home box
HBO,
office, baby.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
So get it right. It's HBO. It always will be.
Shh. Oh.
On that rope,
Woke up this
note, Rob, take us home.
I tell you, every time I hear that HBO thing, I always think that the Sopranos theme song.
I'm in for it.
It's
I hear the Game of Thrones song. Yeah.
hysterical. I mean, sometimes depends.
Dun, 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 dun,
I am
dun.
glad that when they did the House of the Dragons, they kept the theme song.
It only made sense.
Me too.
It only made
would-
sense. If they did a different theme song, I would have hated it immediately.
When it played, it just clicked.
It would have had to been a really good song.
Yeah,
It would have
Would've had
been,
a slap.
which is same
like-
guy, but
It's like not playing the Star Wars theme over the Star Wars trilogy
which they started
movies.
doing.
Well, over the over the key.
Yeah, the
movies,
key ones,
movies.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This was a fun one. This is the Break Room Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like the show, please like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. We'll be back next week with some more goodness on the Break Room Podcast. But we're going to sign out from here. Snoochie Boochies. May the Force be with you.